Hi, welcome to Amanda's Book Corner. I'm Amanda, and this is my review of A Bend in the Stars by Rachel Barenbaum. This novel came out in 2019, and it's been on my list for a couple years now, but I finally decided to pick up the audiobook version a couple months ago, and now felt like the perfect time to listen to it. It's narrated by Therese Plummer and Eduardo Ballerini. For the last few years, I really have been avoiding reading books that are set in World War I or World War II. I just feel like it's something I see too much of in books, and I want to read stories that take me to different times, different places. But every now and then, there is a book that's set in one of the two world wars that really does capture my interest anyway. And A Bend in the Stars is one of those books. It's set in Russia in 1914, right before World War I begins, and it follows the Barenbaum family. It's a grandmother, the babushka, and her two adult children. Mary is a surgeon, the first woman in her hospital to achieve that role, and she's engaged to another surgeon and also her mentor, Yuri. Mary's brother is Vanya. He's a math genius and he works at a local university, and he's in a race against Einstein to get his math right to prove the theory of relativity. His goal is to see the upcoming solar eclipse, get photographs of the solar eclipse, and get his math right by that time in order to secure passage for him and his family to move to America, where it'll be safer for them as the war looms. Unfortunately, the war comes a little bit too soon, and Vanya and Yuri are both forced to enlist in the war. All Jews are at this time. In order to adhere to their plan, and because they voluntarily enlisted, Vanya and Yuri get stationed in Riga, which is in modern-day Latvia. There, they plan to meet an American contact of Vanya's, who has the equipment to take pictures of the solar eclipse. Unfortunately, when they get there, they can't find the American, and it seems that this American has actually gone all the way down to Kiev, which is in modern-day Ukraine. With the help of a tough but clever sailor named Dima, Vanya and Yuri travel across Russia to get to the American and secure those pictures of the solar eclipse. They're in danger because Vanya and Yuri are deserters at this point, and they're also being pursued by a very dangerous foe of Vanya's. And meanwhile, Vanya still hasn't gotten his math right, so they're facing a lot of stress at this time. Meanwhile, Mary was left behind with her babushka, and although their plan was to stay in Kovno, their home in Russia, which is now actually part of Lithuania, and then meet up with Vanya and Yuri in St. Petersburg, Mary finds out about their detour to Kiev, and she gets worried, so she's on a mission to go find her brother and fiancé. Mary and her grandmother unexpectedly help and are helped by another stranger whose name is Sasha. In the end, this trio splits up, with the grandmother going to St. Petersburg to wait for her two grandchildren to return to her, while Mary and Sasha will travel across the country down to Kiev to meet up with Vanya and Yuri. So there's a lot going on in this book. It's broken up into pretty short chapters, which gives it really good pace, and it keeps your interest, but it also keeps the story going. It also offers dual perspectives, following either Mary or Vanya throughout each of the chapters. Now, a lot of the time, and for a lot of people, when you have more than one point of view, or if you're following more than one timeline or story arc, it's common to prefer one over the other. But in A Bend in the Stars, I actually really enjoyed both stories equally. I found them equally enthralling. I really enjoyed Vanya's journey. I thought it was full of action and emotional stress, and they're facing danger, and he's also trying to get his numbers right, and it's really exciting to see his race against Einstein. But equally, I enjoyed Mary's parts. She's a very intelligent person too. She also faces a lot of danger, and in the meantime, she has an interesting relationship developing with Sasha, which I'll get to in a moment. I really like how this novel takes us across a wide expanse of Russia, well, what was then part of Russia. Today, much of the land that they're moving across is Lithuania, Latvia, Belarus, and Ukraine. But even so, it's really exciting to see these different characters who are facing a lot of danger and are trying to not get caught by the people in the war and the certain enemies that they've acquired. It ends up being pretty treacherous. They're moving across forests and farmland and trying to move through towns undetected, and they have to find or catch the food that they eat. You're not always sure who they can trust. For example, can Vanya and Yuri trust this guy Dima, or is he leading them into a trap? Can Mary even trust this guy Sasha? He seems reliable, but is he? So it's pretty action-packed and it has a lot of drama to it. It really keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's kind of nerve-wracking, and I found that it really kept my full interest the entire way through. Another thing I love about this book is how it really focuses on two such intelligent and ambitious people. Both Vanya and Mary work in what is now STEM, Mary being a surgeon and Vanya being a scientist. And I like how their two careers really help drive the novel. Of course, with Vanya, he is in that race against Einstein, and he is trying to get photos of the eclipse and get his numbers just right to get the equation that proves relativity. And I think that's an interesting and unique perspective on what was going on during the beginning of World War I. And the whole time you feel for Vanya, you can feel the stress that he has on himself. His family's safety relies on him getting these numbers right and getting these photographs from the American when the solar eclipse happens. And all the time you're thinking, is Vanya actually as close to getting the numbers right as he says he is? Or is he slowly losing his mind from the stress and the overwhelming hope that he'll get it right in time to save them? Meanwhile, Miri's profession as a surgeon also comes in handy throughout her journey. It is how she meets Sasha, but it's also what keeps her and Sasha safe later on when they're still searching for her brother and fiancé. Now, I will say, A Bend in the Stars does feature a trope that I normally hate. It has a love triangle in it, and I normally loathe love triangles because they can only end badly. You either hate all of the characters involved, harshly judging their choices that they're making and not liking how things are going for them, or you end up really liking all of the characters and just knowing that it can only end badly for one or all of them in the end. In my case, for this book, I felt more of the latter. I actually really liked all of the characters involved. Miri is a great character. She's intelligent and she's brave and she's determined and resilient. I really like her as a person throughout this book. You can see how conflicted she is because she really does love Yuri and she's intent on marrying him, but you can also see her developing these feelings for Sasha and hating herself for it and really trying not to feel those feelings. Yuri, her fiance, he's a great guy too. He's forward-thinking. He's also stronger than he might seem. He's reliable, but he's definitely a little bit guarded and he does hide certain things, but he's still a really good character. And Sasha, he's kind of the wild card here, but he ends up being a really great person too. He ends up being someone that you can really count on. He's selfless. He really does a lot to help Miri and her grandmother and is ready to step aside when she returns to her fiance. So it's a really tough thing. I liked all the characters equally. I was just really dreading when Yuri and Sasha would finally have to face each other and Miri would have to make a decision. I knew that someone was going to be heartbroken, so I wasn't looking forward to it. Although I will say, I think in the end it was the right outcome, but it still kind of broke my heart a little bit. A Bend in the Stars is a really fast-paced novel, and we get to follow these different characters as they journey across their country, trying to stay safe and ultimately evade that danger by going to America. It's emotional, it's dramatic, it's adventurous, it's just a really great book. I will say that the end is quite a whirlwind in contrast. A lot of things happen really quickly over the last few chapters. A lot of things are actually explained away in a sort of epilogue. I think a lot of that could have ended up being a great sequel and I would have been happy to read it. But in any case, I really like how everything wrapped up in the end. I really love how Bend in the Stars offers a very different and unique perspective during World War I. I love how it focuses on these very intelligent and ambitious people and the solar eclipse and the scientific race against Einstein. I just think it's a really different kind of World War I story, and I was really happy to read it. Also, shout out to the narrators, Therese Plummer and Eduardo Ballerini. They did an excellent job of narrating this book. I actually liked it so much that I think I'd like to get the physical copy of the book to add to my library. So in the end, I gave A Bend in the Stars 4.5 stars. So I hope you enjoyed this review video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And to make sure you don't miss any more of my videos, please ring the bell to get all my notifications. I'll be putting out more videos like this one at least once or twice every week, and very soon I'm going to be putting out additional content that you won't want to miss. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!